When you hear the words mushroom and fungi, you might think they're the same thing. After all, when most people picture fungi, they imagine mushrooms sprouting from the ground in a damp forest. But here's the surprising truth. Mushrooms and fungi are not identical. In fact, mushrooms are only a small part of the much larger and fascinating world of fungi. Understanding the difference between the two can open your eyes to an entire kingdom of life that quietly shapes our planet. In today's video, we're going to dive into what sets mushrooms apart from fungi, how they're related, and why this distinction matters not only in science, but also in our daily lives. Let's explore right here on History of Simple Things. Let's start with fungi themselves. Fungi form their own kingdom in the classification of life, standing alongside animals and plants. They're not plants, even though they often grow in soil and have some similarities, and they're not animals, though genetically they are actually closer to us than to plants. Fungi include an enormous variety of organisms: molds, yeasts, rusts, smuts, and yes, mushrooms. They're diverse, complex, and crucial to ecosystems. Unlike plants, fungi don't photosynthesize, meaning they don't make their own food using sunlight. Instead, they rely on breaking down organic matter around them, whether that's dead leaves on a forest floor, food in your fridge, or even living organisms. They secrete enzymes that decompose materials and absorb nutrients, acting as nature's recyclers. Without fungi, ecosystems would collapse under the weight of organic waste, because fungi drive the cycle of decay and rebirth. Now let's focus on mushrooms. A mushroom is not a separate organism on its own, but rather the fruiting body of certain fungi. In other words, mushrooms are just one part of a fungus, the reproductive part that we can actually see. Imagine an apple tree. You don't call the apple tree itself an apple. Instead, the apple is simply the fruit, containing seeds to spread and create more apple trees. Mushrooms serve the same purpose for many fungi. They're the structures designed to release spores, which are like tiny seeds that help the fungus reproduce. Beneath the soil or inside a decaying log, the real bulk of the fungus exists in the form of a network of thread-like structures called mycelium. The mycelium is the living, feeding body of the fungus, while the mushroom is essentially its temporary fruit. This distinction is important because when you walk through a forest and spot a cluster of mushrooms, you're only seeing the tip of the iceberg. Beneath your feet, stretching through the soil, could be miles of interconnected mycelium. Some fungal networks can span entire forests, making them some of the largest living organisms on Earth. In fact, one fungus species in Oregon called Armillaria covers nearly 4 square miles of forest floor and is believed to be thousands of years old. The mushrooms that appear above ground are just the visible signs of this much larger, hidden life form. So when we say mushroom, we're really just describing a temporary structure, while fungus refers to the entire organism, including its vast and often invisible mycelium. Mushrooms also have a unique place in human culture and science. Certain species like shiitake, button mushrooms, or portobello are cultivated and enjoyed worldwide as food. Others, like reishi or lion's mane, are used in traditional and modern medicine for their potential health benefits. However, not all mushrooms are friendly. Some species are highly toxic, capable of causing severe illness or even death when consumed. This is where understanding the difference between mushrooms and fungi becomes critical. While fungi as a kingdom include both beneficial and harmful organisms, mushrooms specifically represent the reproductive structures, and their chemical makeup can range from delicious and nutritious to dangerously poisonous. It's also important to note that not all fungi produce mushrooms. Yeast, for example, is a fungus, but it doesn't form mushrooms. Instead, it reproduces by budding, and humans have harnessed yeast for thousands of years to make bread rise and to ferment beer and wine. Similarly, molds, which you might spot on stale bread or fruit, are fungi too, but their reproductive structures look completely different from mushrooms. This means mushrooms are just one fascinating form of fungi among many. Not the whole story. By equating fungi only with mushrooms, we risk overlooking the vast diversity of this kingdom. Both fungi and mushrooms play critical roles in the environment, but their contributions differ slightly in how we perceive them. The larger fungal body, the mycelium, works behind the scenes as a decomposer, connecting plants through underground networks, and even exchanging nutrients in symbiotic relationships called mycorrhizae. The mushrooms, on the other hand, are the outward sign that this hidden system is alive and active. They signal that spores are being released into the environment to continue the life cycle. So why does it matter whether we call something a mushroom or a fungus? From a scientific standpoint, clarity is key. Using the right terminology helps us understand ecosystems, biology, and even food safety. Saying fungus refers to the entire organism, which could include yeasts, molds, or mycelium networks, while mushroom specifically refers to the spore-bearing fruit of certain fungi. From a cultural perspective, mushrooms carry specific associations, food, medicine, or even danger, while the word fungi might make us think more broadly about decay, fermentation, or mold. Recognizing this distinction helps us appreciate the diversity of life and avoid oversimplifications. Mushrooms and fungi are related but not the same. Fungi are the kingdom that includes a wide range of organisms, from yeasts to molds to the massive mycelium networks beneath our feet. Mushrooms, on the other hand, are simply the fruiting bodies of certain fungi, appearing briefly to release spores before fading away. By understanding this difference, we gain a deeper appreciation of the hidden world that supports ecosystems, fuels human culture, and continues to amaze scientists. Next time you see a mushroom on a hike or in your kitchen, remember that you're only seeing a tiny glimpse of a much larger and more mysterious organism, the fungus that lies beneath. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.